Hi. I told you 6 o'clock. You guys there? Let's see who tunes in. Oh, I got one person. Who might that be? Oh, it's the Reds. That guy likes my bad jokes. Really bad jokes. Hello, Reds. I hope you like model airplane stuff because they call me a master at modeling. Oh, thank you. I'm glad they're not that bad. I can make them worse, but then YouTube will probably shut me down. Great. You want to learn to fly, huh? Well, the best way to do it is to get yourself a trainer. Do not get yourself a warbird or something that looks fast because they are fast and they get out of hand really quick. And then you end up splattering them all over the ground. And then you're wondering, well, this is a stupid hobby. And then you get out. I've seen it happen time and time again. Let me point the camera to my face so I can talk to you. All right. Yeah, I've seen it happen time and time again. So just don't do it. Get a trainer. Get somebody that may be in a club that knows what they're doing. Oh, my camera's all dusty. The Apprentice is a good one. There's these little planes out lately. I can't remember the name of them. Now these are like fighters and Cubs and that kind of thing, and they have a gyro on them, and they're very stable. I've seen a lot of people take to them, and since they've got a safe mode, which means you can't roll them inverted, that they stay pretty well level. They're really pretty good. I think they're about $100 bucks, 120, somewhere around there. I can't remember the name of them right off the top of my head, but look around. I think Amazon sells them. It comes with the controller and everything. So that would be a good way to start. I'll tell you what, give me some time. I'll get back with you on that, and I'll send you a link to a good one that I think you can use to learn on. How's that sound? Oh, got just you on there tonight so far. Forgive my bad tea habit. In a minute, I might go get coffee. All right, so anyway, you can see in the background here, we've got my Sopwith Camel. I don't know if I'm pretty sure you may have tuned in on this on my channel. This has been a 6-year project because I have really gone overboard on it. I have built it exactly the way the real aircraft was built, where I can do that. Let me pan the camera around so you get more of an angle at this. Okay, that's the fuselage you see sitting there. This is a wing that I've fabricated. This is a hardwood spars here, false ribs, cobwebs because I haven't worked on it for a while. But this has been strapped with some really heavy braided some sort of fabric, and it's hollow on the inside here because this will move this thing around so I don't smack the camera. This is going to be 1/4 scale, so in other words, it's 1/4 the size of the real aircraft. And this wing, I got a laptop monitoring this whole thing, and it's right in the way, of course. It slots on here. Now that is not going to be structurally sound if I fly it like that. This wing is going to snap right off. And that's why we have the flying wires that will be in here later on that will take up all the stress. This is just so that I can locate it positively without it moving around. One thing I probably have not gone over on this plane is the landing gear. Get that wing off there. Okay. And the panels that I've beaten into shape. I mean, if they don't comply, I beat on them. Landing gear. This is how the actual landing gear was built on the real Camel. It was welded, usually to some steel tubes all the way around, and then faired with some, oh, that one broke off. Faired with some balsa wood, and then it was wrapped with fabric and doped. And you can see the shock absorbing mechanism. Let's see if we can get it here better in the camera. There's the shock absorbing part of it. Now that was wrapped with bungee cord, believe it or not. So the bungee cord goes on here, and then it gets wrapped over the axle, around the bottom, over the axle, around the bottom, over the axle, around the bottom, and it keeps going round and round and round. And that is exactly how they did it on the real Camel. They did that on the Camel and the Sopwith triplane, the Sopwith pup, the snipe. This was a very common method for shock absorbing. As a matter of fact, bungee cord is still used today in some of your light aircraft. You see how that works? Is that going to be an electric or fuel? No, it will be gas. I am not a huge electric fan. I have electrics. They're fun. They're easy. But with a quarter scale airplane, the cost of an electric and the batteries is absolutely prohibitive. So it will be gas. This is a great big gas engine. Let's see, what brand is it? MT42. Well, it's a 42cc. I've had to clearance some of this out for the cowling. I chose this engine. Let me point that camera down a little bit. I chose this engine because the carburetor and the exhaust are on the same side, and that means the engine itself is really short. Now, this piece, this is what I made. It has the magnetic pickup in it. It's a piece of what's called aluminum nickel bronze, so it's not magnetic. It's a chunk of material that I had left over from where I worked. This engine will be mounted, inverted, over here on the firewall on some rubber mounts. Now you can see why I did not want a lot of engine length on this, because there's not a lot of room in there for a whole lot of anything. And I have to keep the backside of here fairly cleared out, because that's going to contain the battery that sits here. The servos sit right underneath the firewall, right here behind the firewall, to keep with the camera in. They're sitting right here to keep the center of gravity as far forward as possible. You can see the servos. Now this one here, this runs, if you watch, it runs the rudder tiller bar. The pilot would put his feet on here, and that's how he would steer the plane. You see the pull cables here operating the rudder. The ailerons are over here, and you can see that it's connected with a rod going from the aileron over here to a bell crank, a dual bell crank system with ball links on it. So when I put the wing on, the ball link will come through here, and I just snap it on for control, because this cable will go through the bottom wing, up through the top wing, through the center section, all the way around back to this side. So it is going to be controlled just like the full-size Camel. And it doesn't have to move very far, and you can see that the stick inside is also moving. Let me roll it around this way, and maybe I can show you that. Maybe, yeah, right. Anyway, there's the stick. I'm just knocking the top wing off, so. All right, let me pull that top center section off. Let me go back to the elevator control. There's the elevator servo. It has a cable on each side through a little brass grommet so it doesn't wear through the plastic, and that is tied into the pull cables for the actual aircraft. So when you move the stick up here, it moves not only that part, but let me see if I can get the back on it. Can you see the elevator moving? That's how the whole thing is controlled, through those cables running down the fuselage. Now, what question there? Did you machine all those parts? Yes, I did, Ricardo. Ricardo, man, what are you doing on my channel, dude? Anyway, Ricardo, he's an old friend of mine. I used to work at a machine shop with him. The dude's crazy. Stay away from him. So anyway, we got any other questions on some of this? Maybe I can go through my strut mounts. This is a strut mount for, this will be on all of the wings. This socket's in here like this, and I don't know if I can get close enough. You can see little tabs with holes in them. That's where the flying wires will attach. So I got a strut mount I've already got here with the flying wire hull, and these have been bolted in. These haven't yet, because I'm leaving them loose so I can adjust them back and forth until I get the right spread on the struts. And then there will be drilled through here, and I can get a drill in from the back side right through here with an extension, and I can drill through and put the bolts in there when it's finalized. So, anything else? Yeah, the center section of the wing, that cable runs right through here. So I'm going to take a piece of brass tube and I'm going to sharpen it on the end, and I'm going to drill from one end to the other. Hindsight's always better than foresight. Maybe I should have done that while I was building it, but I didn't. This spot here is where there's going to be a turnbuckle that connects the pull cables through the whole aircraft. And I've got one person watching. It's got to be Ricardo. You still watching, Ricardo? I know there's one person watching. It says there's one. Oh, cool. So since it's only you, man, what's up? What do you think of this thing so far? Piece of shit, huh? Yeah, figured. Well, hell, you're the only one tuned in, so later on, this I guess will be on my channel, so I guess my little SHIT word will be on there. Oh, yeah, well, you know what, Cardinal? Let me show you this. You see this thing? This used to be a piece of flat aluminum, and I beat the living hell out of that. Because, I'm going to wreck all my planes that are hanging on the ceiling. This puppy sits right here. You like that? See, on the real soft with Camel, the engine that was in it was a radial engine, but the whole engine spun. And every time it had the exhaust stroke, it would exhaust out the bottom, which was right here. That's why that's dished out, so that it exhausts out that way. And since the engine spun, you didn't have any oil in the crankcase. So how did you lubricate the engine? Well, they used castor oil in the gasoline like they did, well, like you do for a two-stroke engine. And if you've ever eaten or drank or breathed castor oil, it really gives you a case of the runs to the restroom. It was terrible. So that was a very popular place for the World War I pilots, was the restroom. Anyway, that's there's a video I think on my channel that shows somewhat of how I did this, or on where did I do it? On Facebook. Anyway, I'm trying to get rid of all that Facebook stuff because it drops off the radar. These little tabs right here, that's for more flying type wires. That's and I got a couple screws here that will screw onto it. When these screws are in there, it takes the stress from the flying wire that comes from here that goes to the top wing, and it transfers it all the way through these members over to the other side and over to the other wing. So when it's in positive G force, all that tension is pulling this way, and the wings stay on the airplane. I mean, the guys at World War I were really geniuses. Now I've got a little screw hole here that will attach the landing gear to the body, but there's connectors up here. Let's see, move that camera a little bit. There's connectors up in here that come down to these points in a crisscross. And then there's one that comes from the center that goes right through the bottom of this, right on to, I got to remove this plate now. Right onto a spot right there inside the cockpit. So this one wire goes through the cockpit onto the landing gear, and that's what held their landing gear on. What do you think of that crap? So I have to make an aluminum piece here. That was more of the paneling that went on the plane. I still have some more sheet metal work to do on the sides. There's also a flying wire or a brace that pulled this way through the landing gear on these spots, and that well, they're supposed to be doubled here, and that provided strength for this set of flying wires, because there was two sets on this plane. There was one in front and one in the back here. And the one in the back goes through the bottom of the bottom wing at an angle. So there's a little tunnel that I got to cut in there. Hey, yeah, you ain't flying this one, Ricardo. This is all mine. Nobody's touching. And you ain't getting near my F-16 either. I know you. You'd crash it just for a laugh. Too late. I already did. Well, actually, it did. What else can I cover on this plane? I mean, it's not just you I'm talking to. This is going to go out on my channel, and people will be able to view it down the line. But a lot of people have the memory of a damn goldfish. So I brought fish food for the goldfish viewers. Stay tuned. I have food, goldfish heads. Let's see. What can I say about the wings? Well, this is a piece of fiberglass rod along the front. And yeah, the control cable runs all the way down through here to this area here where there's nothing in it, to a pulley. And that pulley went out the bottom of the wing over to the aileron, which moved up and down like this. So I got to make the pulleys and the little holder for it, and I need to cut holes in every one of these. But I got a piece of clear plastic tubing that I'm going to run in there and glue it in so that I can just drop the cable down without it hitting on one of these and getting stuck. Not only that, but the bottom of this plane, the fabric was rarely painted. It was just left the natural color. So it would get doped. It would get clear doped. And that would be it. The top was painted green. There's my locating pins. This has an 80 88 inch wing, I think. 87, 88, somewhere around there. So it's not very small. Back to my engine. Yeah, see, my engine will go on here, and I already have the muffler cut and rebrazed so it fits in here, and it will exhaust right out this way. Isn't that cool? Wheels. All right, let me get the wheels. Okay, wheels on these old airplanes were bicycle wheels, but I'm using these. This is what was in the kit. You notice the nut here I cut, and I made a castellated nut out of it. Just like the full-size airplane, you put them on with the nut on there on the axle, like so, and then you put a cotter key through it. Well, on the real airplane, the spokes on this wheel are completely wrong. They had wire spokes on their wheels, but what they did is to eliminate the drag, the aerodynamic drag, they covered the faces. They covered this face and the back face with fabric. And the kit did come with some fabric plates that cover this that do look like they were covered. So they'll be glued on there, and you won't see it all except for a small hole where I'm going to make a little air valve. Of course, it ain't going to be functional, but it will be an air valve and a couple spokes, a couple pieces of wire that look like spoke. And then it'll all be covered up. You won't see it. This kit was made by a guy in England who has won world scale model championships with his kits. The cockpit on this particular one was really lacking. So that's where I went to work, and I made the cockpit for it, which I sent him a photo, and he absolutely freaked out. He wants all kinds of data on how I did it. Well, that cockpit has gotten me into a lot of trouble because it also got the Australians calling me for a podcast that I did a couple weeks ago. And that was pretty cool to know that people, even in Australia, have seen my work. It also, there was a guy back in, I'm thinking Georgia. Yeah, I think back in Georgia, Tyler Galt. I think he's not feeling well, or else he would be listening. But anyway, turned into a good friend of mine. Funny story is his brother owned the property where they filmed the movie Forrest Gump. If you remember the scene where he crashed the boat into the dock, well, that dock was built on his brother's property, and the dock was built out of balsa wood. So anyway, Tyler got a hold of me to build the cockpit, or the instrument panel and fuel manifold for a Spirit of St. Louis model that's back there at a museum. Well, basically a museum. And I said, sure, I'll build it. I did it for free. And he's like, well, can I repay you anyway? And then he told me a story about that dock. I says, you know what? I've got that movie on DVD. It would be really cool if I had a little piece of that dock, maybe about the size of a postage stamp or something. Well, what do you know? In the mail, here comes this box, and it's not a postage stamp size piece. It's a big ton of it. I'm like, wow, that's cool. I got a piece of the dock from that movie. I'll go get the box here in just a second to show you. I'm not moving too fast these days, Cardo. Oh, South Carolina is where it came from. Yeah, he's in Beaufort, South Carolina. It was his brother, I guess it was in Georgia. Anyway, I get this box, and here's pieces of the dock. I mean, this is so cool. And it's balsa wood. And they stained it to make it look like it had been weathered. I mean, isn't that cool? Anyway, you never know what's going to happen when you are nice to people. It's a lesson for you, Ricardo. I'm just giving you crap. You know that. Well, one bolt went AWOL on me back there. Anyway, okay. So, next subject. Oh, this subject. This is flat stainless steel wire. Okay, this is going to be the stress cables that are on this airplane. And there's a little fitting that goes on there, a little clevis that I have to silver solder on there. And it's got a little tiny bolt that goes through that hole. So when it's done, it looks like it is the full size, just shrunk down to quarter scale. But that's got to be silver soldered on there so that it stays put. All right. Ben, last time I went live, talked about this weed eater engine. And yes, this is an absolute weed eater engine. This is out of a Ryobi. I think this was out of the Ryobi edge trimmer or mixer that had a little tiny, this engine and a little tiller. Well, you get these engines, you can find them dirt cheap, 20, 30 bucks, whatever. And you cut everything off of this plastic back plate. This plastic back plate. Cut everything off. Now this is a mount that was molded specifically to turn this into an RC airplane engine. This did not come with the weed eater. The carburetor, the muffler, everything else is from Ryobi. This isn't. This is a magnetic pickup. This piece doesn't come with the weed eater engine either. This is an adapter that I made on the lathe so that you can put a prop on it. It comes with that magneto, the thing with the, oh, rats. The thing with the magnets in it, because this mounts right here. So as it spins, it develops a spark. Now, I've used these engines before, and they run pretty good. They run really smooth, but they're no real powerhouses. So what we've done with this one is we're turning it into electronic ignition, because the electronic ignition on this automatically advances the timing, spark timing of the engine, and it'll give it more power. I should be able to swing a 20-inch prop. Now that's about 2 inches smaller than your average lawnmower blade. So yeah, the engines I used to do would fly a 12 to 15 pound airplane. I'm hoping this will go 15 to 18 pounds. Anyway, a friend of mine is in the process, that yellow thing back there, we're in the process of finishing that for this engine. Isn't that cool? Yeah, he's a black guy too. He's a big black guy. He used to play football, so I got to watch my mouth. Nah, he's a nice guy. Really quality guy to have around. His son flies F-16s. That is so cool. And he's got the coolest story about that in him. He went to go visit his son at this base, and his son did not know he was there. And he was given permission to fly past the tower. But when he got down, landed, and got out of his plane and saw that his dad was there, of course, the tears flowed. That is so cool for any father to see his kid do that. Wish I had kids like that. Anyway. Anyway, yeah, like what else? Went over the Camel. I'm gonna get back on this project this fall. I'm gonna have my left thumb rebuilt because it's just not working anymore. So it's gonna be kind of my therapy project. And right now I'm trying to get a few other planes fixed, trying to get that yellow thing out of here so that I can concentrate on my stuff. I need to build an English wheel, because when put the roll bead in this, you can see how it kind of distorted it. I'll build a small English wheel and I'll get that out because that goes here. You see how tight of a fit that is? But it'll be cool as hell. Well, hell's not cool, is it? Hell's probably pretty hot. Uh-huh. Anyway, it'll be cool. I have a couple more holes to cut in this cowling, and then I've got some reinforcement plates that go around it, and I've got little aluminum rivets that I will be riveting the plates on, so it looks like the full-size airplane. Again, this is going to be, well, I've already had offers. I've already been told I need to compete with this in the scale competitions. I don't have the money to do that, and I don't have the will to do that, because that's a lot of traveling, and I really don't want to do it. So, tough, you guys. You want to see it, you're going to have to come see me first. So there's the receiver. There's also, you see this cable on it? That goes all the way in back to another satellite receiver, so that I have absolute contact with this airplane. I don't want to lose it because of a radio failure. Oh yeah, this is a panel that I'm in the middle of making for this. That will have, where is it? It's got one of these that I got to put on there. This is for the other side. But on the real aircraft, this was an inspection plate, and I'm going to use it to my benefit, because I'm not going to have all of these screws actually hold it on. I'm going to have maybe 2 of them, in certain locations. Then the rest will be magnets behind there to hold it on. And that's so I can get my batteries in and out. Batteries and the receiver. The receiver mounts right here. So that way I can access the electronics from this side by just undoing that plate. When is this project going to be done? I don't know, man. It's 6 years right now. It all started, my brother bought a big gas engine, and because it was on sale. Yeah, right. Just because it's on sale, you got to buy it. He bought it and then wondered what kind of airplane he was going to put it in. And I said, why don't you try a World War I plane? Because they're big, they're got a lot of lift, they're easy to fly. He's like, yeah. So what does he do? He buys a German airplane. I can't have him flying a German airplane around my flying field. This is a British airplane. The original intent was for us to put lasers in the guns and laser detectors on the planes, and then fly it first-person view with the goggles. And if you got a strike on his airplane, his smoke system would turn on just for about a second or two. That would have been so cool. Unfortunately, as most people know, alcohol and diabetes do not go together. Yeah, he killed himself with alcohol. My best friend and my brother. He had never seen this airplane to this point. All he saw was the very beginnings of the tail surfaces, and that was it. So, yeah, I hadn't worked on it for a while, because when he passed, I lost a lot of motivations. And, there was like a year or two there, I was wondering whether I was going to stay working with RCs or whether I was going to get out. So, 6:34, we started at 6. I think I'm going to leave this at about this time. Anybody watching in the future, I'm going to be doing this every Sunday evening about this time. Hopefully I can show you updates on the Camel and how far it's getting, or repair project, or some other projects that I may be working on at the time that may be interesting. I may even do, I've got a Jet Hanger Hobbies A4 that I want to build, and maybe I'll show parts of that build, or I've got several kits around here that I could do a build video on. Anyway, if you guys leave me a message, let me know what you'd like to see. Other than, yeah, I don't have a naked woman I could show you, so you can't see that. And you really don't want to see me naked. I'm not paying for your therapy. Anyway, I'm going to sign off and say, hey, what? You better let me crash it. I mean, fly it. Yeah, right. Don't think so, dude. Maybe I'll put you on a buddy box on one of my trainers. You need training wheels on your plane. Anyway, I'm going to sign off. Leave me a message. Like I said, Sundays, 6 o'clock, Mountain Time. You can tune in, leave a comment, whatever. I'll get back to you. See you later.